Hey Kurt, how are you?
Hey, good.
Um, you ready to start the interview?
Yep.
All right. Well, my first question would be: you've obviously been in DRI for a long time. How old are you currently?
Hold on one sec. Plugging that thing in.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Let's start over.
How old are you?
59.
59.
59 years old, yep.
You sound like a teenager in all of your songs. It's hard to picture you being 59 now, but that's crazy. That's dedication right there.
I guess.
Tell me about your childhood, like your life up until DRI was formed.
One of five boys living in Houston, Texas, suburbs. My little brother started playing drums. He bought a drum set from some kid in high school who quit playing because he was having migraines. So my brother bought it, and then he just started playing, messing around, playing to AC/DC and stuff like that. And then eventually, I was already writing poetry and stuff. So we were both going to art school in Houston when we started the band. So yeah, he's still a commercial artist, but we were both trying to go to school for commercial art.
Right.
I dropped out when I did the band thing, but he came back to it, finished, when he quit DRI, he came back and finished his schooling, and then he's been doing that ever since.
That's great. Do you have anything else to add about the band's history? You covered a lot, but is there anything you want to add to that?
Just, it was a lot of dedication on our part, practicing all the time and all that stuff.
Of course.
It took our friends to kind of give us a kick in the ass to actually play our first live show because we didn't feel we were ready, and then some punks from the scene came over to our house and they're like, no, you guys are ready, man. You guys are ready.
Right.
So we started playing shows and haven't looked back since.
Great. And with that being said, was there like a demand for your style that you tapped into, or did you guys just mess around and come up with something new?
Well, we liked fast bands like Black Flag and Dead Kennedys and stuff like the Bad Brains, shit like that. We liked that, but we grew up on just rock. Before punk, that's what we were into because that's what there was. So we liked hard rock.
Right.
The harder stuff, metal like Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, Ted Nugent, whatever. Anything that wasn't easy listening. So then once we found out about punk rock, then we gravitated towards the harder stuff of the punk rock. Like Black Flag, TSOL, Circle Jerks, Minor Threat, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So we just those were the bands we liked, so we just started kind of writing songs in that vein, I guess you could say.
That's great.
And then little by little we started, hey, let's see if we can play it even faster, and then we just kept speeding it up until we got it as fast as we could play it and still have it be tight.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Stopping and starting at the same time, at least.
Yeah. How did you guys decide with the name Dirty Rotten Imbeciles?
Well, we started practicing. We didn't have a rehearsal space, so we practiced at my parents' house in my bedroom. And unfortunately, right around when we practiced was when my dad came home from work. So we didn't have the room insulated yet, so my dad was pissed, and that was just one of the names he called us, He'd come home and be all pissed and be like, why don't you guys? And I said, well, we'll insulate it. So we insulated it, and it still wasn't good enough, and he was still yelling at us, and then we insulated it even more, and then he said that at that time it was okay. As long as we had our bedroom door shut and then the hallway door shut, he could be in the living room and it wouldn't really be so bothersome that he couldn't watch TV or something,
Little did he know he was giving inspiration to something amazing. Yeah. What inspired your now iconic logo, the Moshing Man?
Well, originally we knew we wanted to have our own record company. Like SST, Black Flag had SST, Minor Threat had their Discord label, and Dead Kennedys had their label, and everybody seemed to have their own label, so we kind of wanted to do that. I told you my brother and I were both in commercial art school, so one of the projects that we had was called signage, and we had to come up with some signs, and then ones that weren't signs that you already see around town. So mine, I did like a no skateboarding one or something, and he did the no moshing one, and it was the logo. You know, it was our logo, except at first it had a mohawk.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
Then later we took the mohawk off, and then we decided to use it for the record company. So if you see on the first album, it's on the back instead of on the front. So we didn't really know how good it or how popular it was going to be. We just thought, well, we'll just use it for the record logo. It means thrashing, you know. So after dealing with it, it still wasn't. It was on the back, and then Crossover was the first one where it was on the front. So yeah, we started using it as our band logo instead of the record company logo.
That's cool. So what do you remember about D.R.I.'s first ever song?
First ever song?
Yeah.
Just not. It was, you know, Spike was the one that really knew how to play. The bass player Dennis, we made him buy a bass. He was just our friend that was hanging out all the time anyway. So, and my brother, the drummer, he kind of, I guess he's just an all-around musician. He sort of figured out how to play on his own, and then showed the bass player how to play. So we were just kind of goofing around and making noise until Spike showed up. And then once he was there, he was like, you know, he almost didn't stick with us because we were so bad, especially me, he said. And but he stuck with it, and little by little, it just started coming together.
Started to grow on.
But the first songs were, really terrible. I listened to some of them a while back on a cassette that we had, you know, because we used to record on the boombox, record our songs and stuff, and it was pretty atrocious.
Yeah, I got you. But I mean, that's how anything starts. You know, you just get better with time.
Right, and the first time it actually, then we started writing songs where we started them slow, and we would play it really slow and get it down tight, and then we would gradually speed it up, and that seemed to work pretty well for us. So, it was a really good feeling the first time it all clicks and comes together. Kind of like the first time when you go in the studio and you hear yourself, after recording on good equipment and everything, and it's a really good feeling compared to what you've been listening to on the little boombox.
Yeah. To the best of your memory, how many projects has D.R.I. put out over the years, and what were their names?
Well, we have 7 studio albums. Lots of, we've been on a lot of compilations, that sort of thing.
Right.
There's the D.R.I. LP, and then we came out with the EP, Violent Pacification, and then Dealing with It, and then Crossover, Four of a Kind, Thrash Zone, Definition, Full Speed Ahead. Then there's Live at the Ritz, Live at CBGB's. It goes on and on.
Yeah, I got you. That brings me to my next question. Where were you at mentally when you were making the album Crossover?
I had just started working. I wasn't able to survive in San Francisco. We were just so poor there, just living in the van, eating at soup kitchens and all that stuff. We weren't really making enough money from shows or anything at that time. So I understood in my own mind that I wasn't really a poor person, that I could just make one phone call and go home, back to my parents' house and all that. So it's like I chose it to be poor for a time, but it's not like when you're in a band starting out, you're not like, oh, all I have to do is go through this for a year or two, and then all of a sudden, I'll be rich and famous and everything. It wasn't like that. So you don't know what's going to happen. So when Crossover started, it was the first album where I wasn't there every day while they were writing songs. So I would, let's say if they were practicing 4 times a week, I would only be there, once or twice. So I don't have as many of my lyrics on that album as I did on the other albums or the ones after that, because I did have a little job there for a while.
Right.
But that was the album that, my brother drew the cover, the original cover, or he had the artwork for something like that, which I liked, but it wasn't good enough. So we gave that artwork to a better artist, and that artist, Sent Leha, he drew the cover, which made it all look slick and metallic, so that you could tell D.R.I. was going more metal now and stuff.
Yeah.
So it all went together with that. But then that was when Crossover came out, is when we actually started getting, European tours and all that kind of stuff. We started doing better.
Right.
Because it was on Metal Blade Records as well, so they gave us a real a boost. They had the money to give us a push and a boost and stuff, advertising wise and all that. Playing shows with Slayer, other bands that were on Metal Blade.
Right. And as far as like cover art goes and all that, like where does your other cover art come from? Like, how do you guys come up with it, and who designs it?
I came up with most of them, the ideas, and then I work with an artist, and we do a back and forth type thing. Like, hey, here's my idea, and then they send me some rough drafts and rough art, and then I'll say, yeah, this looks good to do this or that, and we go back and forth until we're happy with it.
Right. How does it feel to know that you're a groundbreaking genre that shaped the crossover thrash genre?
It's pretty awesome. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. It's pretty cool. It wasn't like we planned on anything like that, but shit happens, I guess.
Yeah. Who were your some of your greatest inspirations in music and your favorite songs and albums by them?
Yeah, well, I have like lyrically, I guess, and then there's, I don't know, maybe delivery of it.
Right.
Lyrically, just like, hardcore bands, and also older, metal bands and stuff, Pink Floyd and The Doors and stuff like that, and delivery also. I liked the bands that I preferred the most vocally were ones where I could understand the lyrics kind of, and I guess what they call clean lyrics nowadays, clean vocals.
Yeah.
Rather than just, growling and barking and stuff, which is fine for most people, but I figured if I'm going to write the lyrics, I kind of want people to understand them, and people laugh at it anyway, because they're like, dude, nobody can understand a word you're saying, it's all going by so fast, and I'm like, but I'm trying to enunciate everything.
Yeah.
I'm doing my best, and I think that's part of the style of the delivery, is trying hopelessly to enunciate everything, every word, and make it understood as it's going by super fast.
Right, I got you. Are there any artists that you inspired that you would say you were the most proud of, and what's your favorite of their work, if any?
Dave Grohl was partially inspired by D.R.I. I know that. So that's pretty cool. Some of the guys in Slayer, definitely, because, you saw them wearing D.R.I. shirts, and they did one of our cover songs and stuff. So, yeah, I guess those two bands, it's pretty cool. Municipal Waste likes D.R.I. I mean, there's a lot of bands that say they were. They telling me that they were inspired by more than just one band, obviously, or
right.
One vocalist.
Yeah. What genres outside of your own do you enjoy, and what are your favorite artists of each?
Man, that's tough. I like some reggaeton music. Artist, can't remember the guy's name right now. Think of it in a minute. I like some reggae, some reggaeton, some country music, definitely. Patsy Cline, Hank Williams, stuff, all kinds of stuff like that. I even like Britney Spears songs.
Oh, really?
All kinds of stuff. Just whatever. Most bands have at least one good song. I'm not always in the mood for hardcore punk rock, but definitely like it.
Yeah. Who were some of your closest friends coming up in music back in the day?
When I got into hardcore and punk and stuff, none of my friends got into it with me, so right. They were all still into the metal and everything. They didn't see the wonderful part of it that I did. The part that I like is that you could get up close to the band and you could even touch them, or you can jump up on stage and fucking dive off. You could talk to the band before and after the show and stuff. It was just a complete different feeling than just going to a big rock concert and never even thinking, I'm not going to be able to meet Led Zeppelin and hang out with them and have a beer with them or anything, or I'm not even going to really be able to get up close to the stage without getting my head beat in.
Yeah.
So it's just, I like that whole part of it and everything, but not all my friends did. as far as bands that I met and stuff, everybody was so busy, you know what I mean? And before cell phones, you would just, yeah, we're leaving on tour, and you'd just be gone for 3 months. And then, you know, nobody knew where you were or where where you'd been. You just come back eventually, and it's like, how did it go? And it's like, it's okay, you know, it was a good adventure, but you can't really tell them everything that happened. But and then they would be on tour, you know. We lived in San Francisco for like 10 years. I don't think we were ever considered a San Francisco band.
Yeah.
Because we were hardly ever there. You know, we were always out working.
Yeah, I got you. So your other band, Pasadena Napalm Division, what inspired that name?
That name was inspired because, well, we were looking for a name and fighting over it and stuff, you know. And my buddy Greg, that was a guitar player, he said that he wanted to call it Pasadena Napalm Division. I asked him why, and he said because his uncle or somebody that he knew used to work in Pasadena in a factory during the Vietnam War, and they were making napalm there for the war. And there was some kind of placard on the wall that said Pasadena Napalm Division, because that was the Dow Chemicals division for making napalm in Pasadena, Texas.
Nice.
I pay good money for that placard now. It's probably a brass, you know, etched placard or something.
Oh, you have it?
No, I said I would pay good money for it if I could find one.
Oh, I thought you said you did pay good money for it. No. Tell me a little bit about the history of P&D.
Well, I was in D.R.I. We toured constantly, and then Spike was ill, so he had to take some time off. So I was just kind of stuck, not knowing what to do. I got a job, and then some of the guys from Dead Horse, the Houston band, they had broken up, and they contacted me, and they said, hey, man, we're looking to start this other band, and we already have a song, and just wanted to know if I wanted to come by and try it out, you know. And I was like, yeah, I'd never played with any other band except for D.R.I. That was the first band I'd ever been in, the only band. I'd never even jammed with another band before. So I said, okay, you know, that's fine. And I went and practiced and did their song, and then we started writing more songs. And before you knew it, we had an EP, and then after that, we had an LP.
Right. And would you consider P&D to have horror punk influence in it?
More punk influence?
Horror punk.
Horror punk. I don't know about that. I wouldn't know. I don't want to say yes or no because I don't know.
Right. I'm just saying like the Misfits type style.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the styles were mixed, you know, of Dead Horse and D.R.I. and stuff. Not really sure.
Right. If you had to pick D.R.I.'s most successful song, what would you say it would be?
It's tough. I don't know. Probably like Argument and War, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe Violent Pacification. Not sure.
Right.
We did get money from Slayer for that, so.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they did the cover song of Violent Pacification.
That's cool. In your opinion, what's D.R.I.'s most underrated song?
I don't know if we have underrated songs. I mean, I ask people a lot of times. People are like, "Oh, I love D.R.I." And I'm like, "What songs do you like?" And they're like, "All of them." They're like, they just like the sound. It's like, I know other bands like that. For me, that I like all of their songs. It doesn't even matter really. I mean, yeah, there's going to be some that are a little better that you like a little more, but as long as they have that sound of that band, like the Misfits or the, you know, old Misfits or Bad Brains or whatever, it's like, it didn't really matter. So I can't really say that there's any underrated or overrated. People just kind of like the band and they don't really care about which songs that much.
Yeah, I got you. And with, I guess the same questions for P&D. If there aren't any, there aren't any. But if you could pinpoint a most successful and most underrated, would you say that there would be any as far as Pasadena Napalm Division goes?
Nah, can't think of any.
Yeah. What inspired your song "Thrasher" off of Thrash Zone?
Just you know, because thrashing was a big part of our show and everything. People are like, "Oh, I love the D.R.I. show," and I'm like, "We don't have a show. The show is just the crowd." So yeah, I was just always, you know, thinking about that, about people thrashing, and the whole thrash culture and all that stuff was
Right.
really popular, up and coming. And yeah, I mean, it started as pogoing, and then it started, changed to this, and then started thrashing, and then pretty soon it was circle pits and all that, and it just was constantly evolving. And I saw the brutality in the pits, people getting hurt, punched, and blood and all that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to kind of write about all that.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, that's one of the songs that I do Muay Thai. My dad has a gym, so I listen to Thrasher all the time to get hyped up before class. So
Oh, good.
yeah. And then Beneath the Wheel, that was actually my introduction to you guys. What was the inspiration for Beneath the Wheel?
There's a book called Beneath the Wheel that I read, and it made me think about that, of what I wrote about, how parents sometimes are trying to push somebody too hard to keep up with their schoolwork and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so the inspiration came from a book that I read.
Yeah, I got you. And the last one, you say I'm scum. Like, what, is there like a story
I
behind
didn't
it?
write the lyrics to that. John Minor did. He was our bass player for a while.
Right.
He wrote that. He wanted to be more of a writer in the band, so
Yeah.
we didn't want him just hire some new guy and let him come in and just take over the band or whatever. Plus, he wasn't a D.R.I fan; like, he didn't really know about us, but he tried out, and we hired him. He was good.
Yeah.
And we hired him. So then, as he got to know the D.R.I style and all that, he said, "Well, I'm going to try to write some songs like in your style," and that was one of them.
That's cool. Well, it turned out really well. That's one of my big ones for you guys.
Oh, good.
And moving on to like P&D songs, what inspired 100 Beers with a Zombie?
Well, there's this guy named Zombie Ray. He's actually sitting here right now at the table with me. Scott was a guitar player, and he went over to Zombie Ray's house, and usually when we'd go over there and drink some beers, we'll stay there for the night because you don't want to be driving home, right?
Right.
Once you had a couple beers. So so he got, I guess, pretty drunk over there one time. He felt like he drank 100 beers, or maybe he did, I don't know. But then once I met Zombie Ray and I went over to his house, the same thing happened to me. It was like I'd already made the decision to stay overnight, but it's like every time I turn around, he's handing me another beer. Like, instead of waiting till I finished one and then got one from the refrigerator, he's always just handing you one. So you're like, "Well, I'm not even done." He's like, "Yeah, I don't care, just walk off," And it's like, pretty soon, the next day you wake up and you're like, "Fuck, I feel like I did drink 100 beers."
That's
so
crazy.
100 beers with a zombie, because he is Zombie Ray.
Zombie Ray, yeah, I got you. In your song "Bleached Blonde Despair,"
Right.
What inspired that one? Is there a story for that one?
This blonde lady I met, and she, is beautiful blonde lady, but she had all these problems, telling me all these problems that she's had, drug problems and this and that, going on and on and on about it. So that gave me the inspiration about that.
Yeah, that's cool. Murder the Bearded Lady. Like, where did that one come from?
The drummer, Ronnie, he came up with the name for the song, but no lyrics.
Yeah.
So we were laughing about it because we're like,
what does it mean?
Murder the killer that killed the bearded lady, or
murder the bearded lady?
Yeah, so some weird thing like that. So we're like, okay, and anyway, I wrote some lyrics, but I was never happy with them. They were weird, but I just wasn't ever 100% happy. So then we got Tony from Municipal Waste, the vocalist, and I told him, he came in to do some backup vocals, and I said, I'll give you the name, and you can just write your own lyrics. So he went up there in like 15 minutes or whatever, he wrote the song and went in and recorded it. So he ended up writing the words to that, because like I said, I wrote them, but I just wasn't happy with them. I told him, you could probably do something better.
Yeah, I got you. And All of a Sudden Dead. What inspired that one? Is there a story for All of a Sudden Dead?
Yeah, we were talking, me and Greg were talking one time, one of the guitar players, and we were talking about if somebody broke into your house, you know, you could like make the cocking sound with the shotgun, and then they would probably run away.
Yeah.
If you heard them breaking in, and I was like, but what if you don't want them to leave? You know, it's like, because then they'll go break in somebody else's house and maybe rob them or kill them or something, right?
Right.
And I just want them all of a sudden dead. I don't want to scare them away or have them, you know that I'm there or whatever. I don't want any cocking. I just want to blast them. So we were arguing about that, and that's where the all of a sudden dead idea came, and he laughed about it. He goes, that'd be a good name for a song, and then it was.
Yeah, definitely caught my eye out of the P&D tape.
It doesn't really have anything to do with the actual song lyrics, but that's where the name, the title came from, and then I just came up with that other stuff about the girl and all that.
It's about like a serial killer or something, right?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really say that the guy. He's basically just saying like he showed his gun to her, and then she tripped and fell and hit her head. You know, it doesn't say that he was lying about it or anything.
Yeah.
Just that's what happened, but it just looks bad.
Yeah, I got you.
It's situational.
And Terror Cell, that one came in like really hard. I remember listening to that this morning. Was there an inspiration for that one?
Yeah, that's more like D.R.I. style lyrics, I'd say, that I wrote. More like, you know, about how everything's fucked and the world's falling apart and it's always been bad and it's even worse type thing, but not offering any solutions, just saying.
Yeah, I got you.
You know, that's it. That's more the DRI style.
Just acknowledging the problem.
That I'm good at, yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
But offer no solution.
Yeah, I got you. What's next to come from DRI? I heard you guys had like an album coming up.
No, I don't know who told you that. No, just waiting to go back on tour again. Spike books all his tours. Our guitar player, so he's just been postponing them, you know, from one year to the next. We're looking at October.
Because of COVID, or?
I think unless something else pops up, but we'll see. I mean, that could easily be canceled as well.
Right. Is it because of the virus, or?
Yes, we canceled a whole world tour in 2020. We only did 2 little parts of the tour, and then everything was shut down.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that.
So now this year, same kind of shit going on, but, you know, depending on the state and all that, other people are booking shows and stuff, but for DRI, I think we're waiting until it's just normal, like big shows and not, you know, outside only with distancing and masks and all that stuff.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be able to get the money that we need to be able to afford to, you know, drive around and tour and everything.
Yeah, I got
Doing
you.
it that way.
Is there anything coming up from P&D, or?
No, not really.
Yeah.
Everybody else, Dead Horse broke up even for now, and those guys all have regular jobs and everything. That's why he could never really tour or anything like that, because they all have careers, you know what I mean? They would have to get like millions of dollars before they could just quit everything. So that was more of just a local deal. We played shows in Texas, Louisiana. That was about it.
Right. And your song Acid Rain, I'm sort of going back to like I guess the meanings or the inspiration behind the songs. I got like about 4 more that I wanted to ask about. I know that was a big problem back when you guys were coming up. Was there any specific thing that made you guys decide to write a song about acid rain?
Just something in the news and a lot and everything that everybody was talking about. How it was, you know, corroding buildings and monuments and killing the trees and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, each time you're writing a record, you have to, especially when all your songs are short, you got to come up with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's basically whatever's kind of on your mind at the time, you know. For some bands, it's love songs, every song, because that's what's on the singer's mind, you know. And in other bands, it's about fighting and whatever. It just depends on the band and the guys writing the songs, I guess.
Yeah, I got you. And anything with Reaganomics, was there anything that
Spike wrote that is because he was from New York and he came down to Texas to work, because at the time, I guess Reaganomics, you know, was the thing that they said was like messing up America, and there was no jobs in New York. It was real hard to find jobs up there. I didn't know because I was in Houston, and so it wasn't really affecting me that much. But a lot of people from New York came down to Texas at that time because they heard there was work down here and stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's why he wrote it.
How about a 5-year plan? That's a pretty big one, isn't it?
Yeah, 5-year plan. When I had gone to art school in Mexico for 1 year before the band started, and there were some other Americans living there, and 2 of them were from Dallas, Texas, and they lived in the same apartment building where I was living in Mexico. So we would hang out together and stuff like that. And I remember they were older than me, so I was like 18, and they were in their 20s or 30s or something, at least, I don't know. And they said, one of the guys that told me, he's like, yeah, if somebody ever fucks you over, you don't get them back right away because everybody's going to know that it's you. You put them on your 5-year plan. And then, after 5 years, you get them, and then nobody will remember that you were pissed off at them or whatever, or that could hold a grudge for that long. So I always just remembered that 5-year plan thing, and then I wrote the song about it.
Right, and did you guys have a song called Thrashland?
Thrashland? No.
Yeah.
Dreamland. P&D had a song called Dreamland.
Okay.
That's what you're thinking.
Yeah, that's probably the one that I was thinking of. But yeah, Dreamland. What was the inspiration for Dreamland?
Just kind of a funny song about how bands dream like that they're going to be real big, or that they're bigger than what they really are, and they fill their minds up with that. Yeah, we're gonna have red color vinyl, everything on red color vinyl. It could be this and that.
Yeah.
Because record companies sometimes will show you shit like that and everything. So it's just kind of a funny song about that.
It's just when they're doing like more talking and less working kind of situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess because we met bands like that they thought they were really big, and saying that they're really big and all that, but you find out they're really not that big. It's just they built themselves up. Somebody did, the record company or whatever, told them, their managers or something. I don't know.
Right.
Like I said, you just got to come up with something to write about sometimes.
Yeah, I got you. And this is more like personal stuff, like just your thoughts on things and just some of your personal interests and stuff. Your favorite shows and movies, do you have any?
Shows and movies?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really watch TV very much.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I just had that.
Or a lot of movies. But, let's see. South Park's pretty outrageous.
Yeah.
I guess some cartoon stuff like that I like Simpsons and stuff. Das Boot, it's a German. I like that one. It's a German movie and also TV show with English subtitles about not a submarine crew in Nazi Germany, World War II. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I like war movies, some horror movies.
What?
Violent stuff, I guess. I never thought of it that way, but it sounds that way.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite horror movies? Do you have any that come to mind?
Not really. I just watch, anything pops up on fucking for free on the internet.
Yeah.
I watch it on TV or whatever for free. I don't have Hulu or any of that stuff.
Right. Have you seen that new Ted Bundy documentary or whatever yet?
There's a couple of movies I like. I don't know if you consider them horror, but one is called Tusk. Have you ever seen that? I guess it's a horror movie.
I haven't heard of it, but I could definitely.
Stuff like The Human Centipede.
Yeah.
1, 2, and 3. Stuff like that I like. Just, I don't know, I guess that's horror. Just weirdness, oddness, or whatever. Stuff, weird movies like that.
I've never seen Human Centipede, but I've heard a lot about it, so I'll definitely have to get that.
Yeah, I mean, you either hate it or love it,
Yeah.
I liked all of them, but, try to get some girl to watch it or something, and she'll be like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, it's fucking awesome. Look, stapled ass to mouse. Look at the lady on the end. She's having to eat shit out of somebody's ass that's already been regurgitated through fucking, 20 people. She's not looking too good.
Tough.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. What's some of your favorite foods and drinks?
I like Mexican food, Italian food, Japanese food. I like pretty much everything.
I'm the
I
same
don't
way.
think there's any type of food that I found like a variety of food that I just like, oh no, I hate this. And so far, I've liked everything that I've tried pretty much. And I've traveled a lot too, so I get a chance to try it in the country where it's from, as well as restaurants here in the U.S.
Right. Just being on tour, I'm sure that's just part of it. You know, you get.
I like Ardbeg Scotch, Ardbeg, Ardbeg Scotch is really good, and from this little island off the coast of Scotland. And I like beer, coffee, stuff like that. I don't know, normal stuff.
Yeah, I got you. What other hobbies do you have outside of music?
I raise rabbits for meat. I do a lot of gardening, so vegetable and fruit gardening.
I was gonna say from like your Instagram, I could tell you were really big into gardening. What's some of the craziest stuff you've grown?
It was crazy, but like the stuff that most people don't have in their garden around here, artichokes, asparagus. It's challenging to grow them here in Texas because they're more like cool season type vegetables. But I've been doing it. I grow all the regular stuff, you know, carrots, potatoes, tomatoes, peppers, melons, all that kind of stuff. A lot of greens, you know, kale, lettuce, all that crap.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I used to have a garden too, but my dad got too busy with his business, so he's just mainly been focusing on the gym. So
Well, it's tough when you're touring because you know you're here for a week or two, but then you leave for a couple weeks and you got to come back. And it's actually not too bad though. But since I was been home for a year,
yeah,
you know, it's I've been just gardening every day, so it's looking. I don't know if I can say it looks better, but I'm happier to be able to kind of keep an eye on it all the time.
I'm sure.
But I'm fucking ready to go back on tour. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, I
It was kind of
bet.
nice. So we've been working hard for the last 10 or 11 years, so it was kind of nice to have a little break. I
Yeah,
had a little money saved up and everything, but then now it's been too long, you know what I mean? It's drained me financially, and I just want to get back on the road,
yeah, I feel you.
start doing our thing again.
Um, so yeah, like, what do you get out of gardening? Like, what kind of feelings does it bring you? A sense of peace, or like, do you just?
Yeah, I like getting my hands dirty, and it's just watching the seeds grow and taking care of them and having them produce and all that. I compost, and it's all organic, mostly organic gardening. You know, I use the rabbit shit for fertilizer and stuff, and composting and all that, mulching and all that stuff. So always just trying to do better and better too. And you know, every year I grow the same stuff, but I also try something new every season that I haven't tried before. See if I can, how I do with that, and see if I can add it into my rotation or not.
Yeah, I got you. Um, where all of
And it
you?
looks nice too out there.
Oh yeah, just like having a variety of plants and stuff out
Yeah,
there.
you like broccoli and everything growing, and people are like, no way. And I've lived in a little apartment before where you don't really have room to do it, and so I know people are like, man, I wish I had room for that. I wish I could do that and everything. And it took me a while to set it up to where I could do that, where I had the money to buy a cheap enough place with the right sun and yard and all that to be able to do it, because they won't let you do it in the front yard most of the time. Most places you have to do it in the backyard
Yeah.
for some stupid reason.
Where all have you been on tour? Just going back to that topic. I'm kind of skipping around, but like,
Yeah. Well, you everywhere, all around, like Canada, from Alaska, Hawaii, all around the United States, Mexico, some Central America, South America. We played all around in Europe. We played where else? Indonesia, Japan, Australia, Malaysia, Thailand.
yeah.
Been all over the place. Most of them multiple times.
Who gives you the most energy? Like when you tour for them, when you go to different places, like who stands
Yeah.
out? Who?
I'd say Canada or South America. Both really, really good right for us right now. Canada, because Canada was always good, but then we weren't able to get in there for a long time.
Yeah.
And then once we could get in, we came back, people were like more than ready, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the shows that we did were big and sold out and like bigger places than we usually play. And same thing like when you go down to Chile and Brazil and stuff, you play in like big places. You know, in the U.S. we play like in pizza parlors and Chinese restaurants and stuff and little clubs. And there we're just like, you know, every band's big that down there. You go down there and all of a sudden you're huge. You're on a big stage with big equipment and, you know, lights and everything. It's awesome.
Yeah, I got you. Are there any crazy stories from being on tour that like stand out, like just to hit the highlights?
Yeah, lots that, you know, can't think of right now. Like, I thought of it the other day because people were always asking me that. And then I was the other day, I'm like, oh, what about that time? Why don't I ever tell them about that? Now I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, I got you.
You know, I mean, just, it's always interesting stuff going on tour. But, I mean, nothing too bad, nothing too tragic or anything like that.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on COVID and everything going on right now?
It's fucked, you know. There's not much we can do about it, though. I was glad that when we made it back from Chile, because we played like the last show in Chile, and then they said they were shutting everything down after that. And then we left the next day and flew back to the United States, and everybody else we already knew about the great toilet paper shortage and all that we've been hearing about.
Oh, yeah.
Everything was shutting down, and then they said they were canceling all the flights leaving from Chile, and you know, but luckily we got out of there just in time.
Yeah.
Like one day later, we probably would have been fucked and stuck down there for who knows how long.
That's tough, man. That's scary.
Yeah, so we got back, and then I got both of my sons here. They both living in the house with me, so we just all quarantined together for that first whatever it was when they locked everybody down for a month or something, or 2 weeks or whatever. They told everybody not to go outside and everything.
Yeah.
And then little by little, they started telling people you could go out more and stuff. At least that's how it was here in Texas.
Yeah.
So I still haven't been going out much, you know. I mean, that one time when I came back from tour, I stockpiled a bunch of stuff, so we literally didn't leave the house, you know, for weeks.
Yeah.
But then little by little now, I'll go to the store maybe twice a week or something to buy stuff. But I still don't go out very much or hang out or anything with anybody.
Yeah, I
very
got
often.
It's kind of been hard to anyway. You mentioned you have two sons. What's fatherhood been like?
Well, it's rough when you're on a single parent and on the road a lot. But luckily my kids are well behaved enough to take care of themselves when I'm gone and stuff like that. They're not doing shit like we would have done when we were kids.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the Biden presidency so far?
I don't know. It just doesn't seem to be going exactly as they said that it would, but they never do, really.
Yeah.
And they have to make promises and stuff on campaigns, and
just to sell it to
from
people.
what I've seen in the past is like presidents that make promises and then they break that promise, they usually don't get reelected.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when George Bush Sr. said, you know, read my lips, there will be no new taxes or whatever, and then he made new taxes, you know, and then he didn't get reelected.
Yeah.
So something like that, where they're just like, read my lips and everything, you know, but yeah, we'll see what happens with him. Biden no problem. I mean, you know, Kamala Harris might end up being the president eventually, you never know.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people saying that might be the case.
Well, yeah, I mean, you just never know. He could just step down or have a stroke or anything.
Yeah.
He's still planning on running 4 years from now, so we'll see. Maybe he's in that good a shape.
What are your thoughts on all the riots and the unrest in our country right now?
It's always been bad, but shit's going sideways. It's not that bad here in Texas, at least.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Seems to be more certain cities, certain states, where they just allow that thing a little bit more, I think.
Yeah,
I've been in a few riots, but it was always, I didn't really know what was going on. It was more like you come, you know, in LA in the early 80s, there was, that was when the police were militarizing. And I think they would practice on the punks or whatever. They didn't like the whole punk rock thing. It was new, you know what I mean? It was just something new. They didn't like those people. And you'd come out of a show, like out of a concert, and there'd be all these fucking cops lined up outside, you know, and marching down the street with their billy clubs and stuff, chasing everybody and stuff. And I was like, are they really just practicing on this? I mean, it's like, but you don't know what happened out there. Like maybe they were just out there, and then the punks started throwing bottles at cars or something, and then that's why they showed up. Or, you know, I don't know. Yeah. You didn't know back then. There's no way to find out. There's no check on Facebook and find out what happened, or you know, nobody had cameras, nobody was saying what was going on, and all of a sudden you're just running from the cops or throwing rocks at them or whatever. But it was never over, you know, somebody that got shot or by a cop or anything like that. It was just over punk rock bullshit.
Yeah. Did you hear about I'm assuming you heard about the storming of the Capitol.
Right.
Yeah.
They asked Putin from Russia, you know, the president, asked him what he thought about it. He said it looked like a stroll because you know, if you watch some of the videos, like when they made it into the main chamber.
Yeah, like they straight up opened the gate for him. Like they let everybody.
Right, and he's like, yes, this is the main chamber or something. And he's all, oh, cool. It's like he's giving the guy was giving him a tour.
Yeah.
But that guy was just probably kind of panicked or something. I don't know what was going on, but Putin said it looks like a stroll compared to what he goes through there. You know what I mean? With fucking the riots and shit going on in Russia all the time.
Yeah. I'm assuming your kids know about your music, and what do they think? Like, what's been...
The older one said he kind of starting to like it, but he learned. I had him take guitar lessons when he was younger,
right?
And then he kind of got over it, but now he's playing guitar and trying to jam with some friends, and they've been doing some live shows and stuff. I'm not really invited yet. I think they want to just get out there and kind of do some open mic stuff to kind of see where they're at, you know?
Yeah.
So before I come there, and they probably think I would, I don't know, try to take over or something. I'm not sure, but yeah, they like it. He said he likes it. The younger one hasn't really said if he likes it or not. I don't ask him.
Yeah. What kind of music does your son play?
I don't even know if it has a name. It seems like, I mean, at first they were kind of doing acoustic stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Acoustic guitar, but I don't even think they don't even have a drum set. I think they just have like 2 guitars and a singer or something. I don't know what they're doing. They're just messing around. I don't know if there is a name for it. I'll have to ask him though. He's not here right now.
Yeah. Do you have a message to your fans? Like, if you could give a message to your fans, what would it be?
Thank you for all the years of supporting us and the, not just us, but all the bands of our genre of music. Because we couldn't go on tour if there wasn't anybody showing up and enjoying it or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, if you got to realize when a band gets booked at a club and then you go play there, if there's not a lot of people there, then they won't have you back again. So we try to pick venues where all ages can come because we know we have a lot of fans of all ages.
Yeah.
So we try as hard as we can to make all ages shows. And a lot of them are, but sometimes that's the only available place is a bar that's 21 and over.
Yeah.
And we do that, you know, and then people show up and they're like, yeah, it's the first time I see you guys. I finally turned 21 and, you know, was able to see you guys.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just thank you. Thank you for all the support. We really appreciate it.
I'm glad you know that because I was about to tell you, like, I was introduced to you guys by a friend that's my age, and I just turned 18. He's, like, just a little younger than I am. So, yeah, that's pretty much how I was introduced to you. He played beneath the wheel in his truck, and we just kind of sat and chilled.
Nice.
But, yeah, you got a message to your haters if you have any?
Well, I think we do have some, but I don't ever see them because, like, at our shows, it's just most of the people there are fans. I mean, they pay to get in.
Yeah.
On my Facebook page, the people that want to be my friend on there are already fans. I was mentioning it to one of the guys in my band, the bass player, and I told him that, you know, that I was like, I don't ever have to deal with any of the haters. He goes, they're out there.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and stuff. I think that I don't know exactly. I mean, obviously, D.R.I is not for everybody. I don't think it draws a reaction where people are just like, "Oh God, I hate that." You know,
Yeah.
they might be mad that we haven't put an album out in a while, and that we're just touring on full speed ahead since 1990 or whatever, and shit like that. They bitch about stuff like that, but that's mostly what I hear.
Yeah, I mean, complaining about you not putting out an album is more love than anything, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right, I guess so.
yeah, it's just, they got to be patient, but that's just their way of saying that they enjoyed your music, I guess.
Right. I mean, we put out a lot of records in a fairly short period of time when we had a record deal.
Yeah.
And they wanted us to put out a record every year or two because that was the contract. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And once we were out of that contract, it's a lot of work to put out a record. And it's stressful. You hear people talk about how it's like having a baby. You know? And I mean, I don't know what it's like having a baby. It's obviously more painful than making a record, but it's just that whole thing of putting everything into it, and spending a lot of money, going and rehearsing and a lot of your time, every day and all that stuff, and then recording it. And people are like, "Oh, you guys ever listen to your own music?" And it's like, hardly ever, because I had to listen to each of those songs like a million times. When you're recording it, and then you have to listen to the mixes and all that. And each time you record it, each rehearsing and all that stuff, just you're tired of the song by the time it comes out, basically. And then you put that record out, and it's like done. Now we can move on to the next one. But yeah, I mean, it's not for us. It was just fun to get on the road and not have to stop and put out an album every year. And we started once people started downloading stuff for free on the internet and all that stuff. Records weren't really paying that much. We weren't getting very much money anymore. So the record companies used to give us a chunk of money and say, "Here, live on this for a little while you write a record, and then you can go back on tour." It's a loan.
Yeah.
They would give to the band, right? Because otherwise you can't afford it. You can't afford to just stop touring. So nowadays they won't do that anymore, at least not for us. So we basically have to keep touring. And we did that little 7-inch record, But Wait, There's More, but that was while we were on tour. It's just a few songs. So we had a day off, and we just went in and recorded it in LA in a studio.
Yeah.
So that's different.
And that was the last thing you put out, right? Like, when did, But Wait, There's
More?
More?
We were just kind of testing the waters there to see if there was interest, because the record company we have is called Beer City.
Yeah.
A smaller punk label, and they wanted us to put something out, see how it sells and everything. I guess it did all right, but I'm not sure. But it's hard to tell because the 7-inch never really sells as good as the 12-inch
Yeah.
record. So I don't know. But we tried it to see what would happen. People seem to like it. I'm not super happy with it, but I've never been 100% happy with any of our albums. So that doesn't mean anything.
I mean, you got a lot of people that are, though. And I mean, the way I look at stuff is like, it doesn't matter what you think of what you put out. It really just, at the end of the day, it matters what your fans think,
Yeah, I guess you're right. I've heard about bands where they just hate playing a certain song, on tour because it's their big hit, but they don't even like the song, but they have to play it,
Yeah.
And they're like, I have to play that song. And then the real one-hit wonders, they play that song several times during the set because it's so popular. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you.
So,
do you have any advice for anybody coming up in your field?
I don't know, man. I know when people would ask Spike that, he'd always say, don't do it or something like that. Get a different job.
Yeah.
Now, I was telling somebody the other day, I said, it was one of my son's friends who's in college, and it's for his business class or something. He was supposed to interview entrepreneurs like us that have their own business. And I told him, I said, he goes, what would you tell somebody that was starting, their own band? And I said, I would probably start out slow, not musically slow, but don't put your job and put everything into it in the very beginning. Wait until it seems like at least you're in with a good group of guys and that people like your music and everything before you just give everything up. But eventually you will have to just go for it and give everything else up. Your job and everything, and just go into the band full force. But just maybe wait a little bit before doing that. That's what I told him.
Don't commit until you know that you're going to go somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're You gotta, I don't know, just make sure people like that. You're not the only one that likes your music.
Yeah, yeah, that makes complete sense.
For a long time, I thought people really didn't like us, that they were just saying that to be nice and stuff. I mean, I was kind of convinced of that because I just didn't think that our music was very good. And then one time I was sitting in our van and we were playing a show, and I was outside sitting in the van, and some guys walked by and they were smoking a cigarette or something near the van, and I could hear them talking, and they're like, fucking D.R.I. shit, man. I was like, yeah, I know, man, they're fucking great and everything. And once I heard that, I knew that they didn't know I was there, so for sure I knew that they really liked us at that point.
Yeah.
And now I know people actually like us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's great. Did you have anything you wanted to add? I'm pretty much through all the questions I really wanted to ask, but if you have anything else that you want to add,
just we'll see you on the road. Hopefully, wherever your town, whoever's listening to this or reading it, then we'll try to play your town or somewhere nearby, and we'll try to play somewhere all ages.
yeah, I got you. I'm in Charlotte though. I'm out of North Carolina, so.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. If you guys, when I see you guys go on tour, I'll definitely check out the tickets and see if I can make it out.
All right, cool.
All right. Well, I appreciate you taking time out of your day to talk to me.
No problem. I hope it helped you out.
Of course. Have a nice day. Hope everything goes well with the kids.
All right, take care.
All right. Bye.